All right, the Pelicans take on the Bucks, and that's going to be a 6:30 p.m. Eastern start time. Milwaukee's minus 11, totals 221.5. Now we are 3-0 in our last three college football tier package picks on my website at brockpage.com. And the good news is we have three more premium college football tier package picks going off here today on that very page. Now, if you want to access today's college football tier package picks, the link for those picks is in the description section below. And if you're wondering what the difference is between my YouTube channel, what you're watching right now, and the difference between that and my website, well, if you want to see which one of these free YouTube picks that I'm actually betting on personally, there's only one way to do that, and that's to sign up for a membership on my website at brockpage.com. Now, when it comes to this free pick here for this ball game, the Bucks, they are going to work here today without their second leading scorer, Chris Middleton. Having said that, though, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's going to be in action here today, and he's scoring over 27.5 points a game, along with 11 boards and 5 assists. Meanwhile, Drew Holiday, don't hear people talking about him much, but he's averaging 18 points a night himself, along with 4.5 rebounds and 6 assists. He's quietly having a very good year. Now, the Bucks have gotten the W in their last 5 straight, and they're also winning 71% of their home games. When it comes to rebounding the basketball, Milwaukee's currently leading the NBA in offensive rebounding at home. Now, they're taking on a depleted New Orleans team who's gotten the W in just 6 out of 19 road games. These guys are playing terrible on the road. And aside from scoring just 102 points per contest when they travel, the Pels may be going to work here today without a bunch of their players. Ingram Hart, Alexander Walker, Marshall, and Alvarado, they are all questionable to play here today. Meanwhile, big man Jonas Valanciunas, he is out. He's in quarantine. You're not going to see him in action. Of course, when it comes to the total in this one, New Orleans saw games with Portland, San Antonio, and Detroit here recently fall under the number. Meanwhile, the Bucks on the other side of things, they are 65% to the under at the Pfizer Forum. I'm going to lean toward Milwaukee minus 11 and the under 221.5. Next matchup, it is going to be Spurs versus the Pistons. 7 o'clock Eastern tip-off. San Antonio's minus 6.5, totals 224. San Antonio covered the number in 4 out of their last 5 ball games, and those were covers against the likes of Utah, the Lakers, and this very Detroit team. And as a matter of fact, San Antonio's in the top 5 in the NBA in scoring on average per game. Keldon Johnson is drilling 46% of his three-pointers. He's also averaging over 15 points a game. Meanwhile, Dougie McDermott, he's drilling 41% of his 3 balls himself, along with nearly a dozen points a game. The Spurs currently find themselves in the top 5 in the NBA in shooting from the field. Now, they're taking on a Detroit team who lost 18 out of their last 19 ball games. And once again, they're going to work here today without a slew of key guys. Joseph Grant, Lyles, Magruder, Jackson, Lee, Stewart, Hayes, Livers, and Cunningham. They're all sitting this one out here today due to COVID or injuries. But I'll tell you what, even when this team is healthy and they got all their pieces in place, they've gotten the W in only 5 out of 33 ball games for the entire season. And they're currently dead last in shooting from the field at home. Now, total-wise, the Spurs saw their last 2 straight all fall under the number, and those were unders against the likes of Memphis and Utah during that short span. San Antonio is also 12-5 to the under in all of their road games, kind of different from when they're at home, where you see nothing but overs. Meanwhile, the Pistons on the other side, they saw 3 out of their last 5 stay under the line themselves, with unders against the likes of New York and Miami during that stretch. I'm going to go ahead and lean towards San Antonio. The Spurs minus 6.5 and the under 224. Next ball game. It is going to be Bulls versus the Wizards, 7 o'clock Eastern start time. Chicago's -2, totals to 18.5. But despite their current winning streak, the Bulls failed to cover the number against the likes of Indiana, Miami, and Cleveland here recently. And in addition to ranking in the bottom 3 in road offensive rebounding, the Bulls are still going to work without Alex Caruso and Lonzo Ball. Those guys have been banged up, still out indefinitely, nothing really changing with their statuses here. Now they're taking on a Washington team who went 4-1 against the number in their last 5 ball games. They're also winning 64% of their home games, doing a pretty good job getting the W in D.C. And of course, you can credit a lot of that to Bradley Beal, who's scoring 23.5 points a night along with 4 rebounds and 6 assists. Meanwhile, big Montrezl Harrell, he's scoring 14.5 points a game off the bench along with 7 boards and a couple assists as well. Now, the Wizards are currently in the top 10 in shooting from the field. Meanwhile, defensively on the other end of the court, the Wizards are in the top 10 in guarding the 3 ball at home. Total-wise, 3 out of Washington's last 4 got over the line. They also went 70% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, 5 out of Chicago's last 7 got over the posted total themselves. I'm going to lean toward the underdog, Washington Wizards, +2, and the over 218.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Clippers versus the Nets, 7:30 Eastern tip-off. Brooklyn is -12 with the total at 219. But if you like the Nets laying a dozen in this spot here, just keep in mind that they're only 4-13 against the spread at the Barclays Center this year. And that's good for just 23% in that particular category. These guys are ticket killers at home. And for some reason, the Nets are having a tough time making the 3 ball at home as well. They're shooting just 32% from beyond the arc in Brooklyn. And they're currently in the bottom 3 in the NBA in that particular category. Now, when it comes to rebounding the basketball, Brooklyn also finds themselves in the bottom 10 in defensive rebounding at home. Now, injury-wise, Edwards and Sharp are questionable for Brooklyn. Meanwhile, for Los Angeles on the other side of things, Batum, Zubac, Scrub, Preston, Boston, and Wright, they're all questionable to play for them. But I'll tell you this much, regardless of the Clippers injury report, they've still covered the number in 3 out of their last 5 ball games. And they're currently holding their opponents to just 104 points a game. These guys have been pretty good defensively here this year. Now, the Clippers are also in the top 10 in defending the 3 ball, so no real surprise there. And when it comes to the scoring, Reggie Jackson, that's what I tried to say. Reggie Jackson, he's dropping over 17 points a game along with 3 rebounds and 4 assists. Who'd have thunk it, right? That's another guy who's quietly having a really good season. And another guy who a lot of people don't speak of, Luke Kennard. He's drilling over 44% of his 3-pointers himself and averages just about a dozen points a game as well. Now, total-wise, the Clippers went 70% to the under in their last 10 outings. Meanwhile, Brooklyn's 11-6 to the under at the Barclays Center. I'm going to lean toward the Clippers +12 and the under 219. Next ball game I have for you, it is going to be Nuggets versus the Rockets, 8 o'clock Eastern start time. Denver is -7. Total is 224.5. But despite being favored on the road here, the Nuggets currently have a losing record when traveling. And they also have a slew of guys on the injury list. Green, Rivers, Gordon, Ball, Cancer, and Najee. They are all listed as questionable for tonight's action. Meanwhile, Morris has been ruled out with COVID. And I'll tell you what, even when they're mostly healthy, the Nuggets have had significant problems offensively. First of all, they're in the bottom 10 in scoring on average per contest. And secondly, the Nuggets are dead last in the entire NBA in offensive rebounding on the road. Now they're taking on a Houston club who actually does a pretty nice job of shooting the 3 ball at home. As a matter of fact, Houston's in the top 10 in offensive 3-point percentage on their home court. Eric Gordon's drilling 45% of his 3-pointers this season. He's been great from beyond the arc. He's also averaging 14 points a game. Meanwhile, Christian Wood, he's actually the team's leading points getter with over 17 a night, along with double-digit rebounds. And when it comes to the injury report, Augustin and Matthews are questionable for the Rockets. And total-wise, Houston's last two straight got over the posted number. 80% to the over in their last 10. Meanwhile, Denver saw 6 out of their last 10 get over the posted number themselves. I'm going to lean toward Houston plus 7 and the over 224.5. Next matchup, it is going to be Warriors versus the Jazz, 9 o'clock Eastern tip-off. Utah is minus 4.5, totals 222. The Jazz won their last 6 straight. They also win 70% of their home games. Now, Utah scores more points per contest than any other team in the NBA. And they're also first in offensive rebounding. Donovan Mitchell's scoring over 25.5 points a game, along with 3 boards and 5 assists. Meanwhile, Bojan Bogdanovic is knocking down 43% of his three-pointers. He's averaging 17 points a game. Now, defensively, the Jazz, they allow only 105 points per contest, and they do find themselves in the top 3 in defensive rebounding as well. This is arguably the best rebounding team in the NBA. They're taking on a Warriors club who failed to cover in 6 out of their last 10 ball games. And oddly enough, as good as these guys have been shooting the basketball, somehow they're actually in the bottom 5 in the league in shooting from the stripe. Not very good from the foul line, or their opponents are just fouling the right guys. Who knows? But that is definitely an interesting trend there. But anyway, injury-wise, Lee is still out with COVID. Green is questionable. Meanwhile, for the Jazz, Conley, Ingles, and Pascal, they are questionable for them. When it comes to the number in this one, 4 out of Utah's last 7 fell under the posted total. Meanwhile, the Warriors are 10-5 to the under when they travel themselves. I'm going to lean toward Utah minus 4.5 and the under 222. And with that, guys, now it's time for our quick pick recap. Powered to you by my website at brockpage.com, where once again, guys, we are 3-0 in our last 3 college football tier package picks. I like Milwaukee minus 11, under 221.5. San Antonio minus 6.5, under 224. Washington plus 2, over 218.5. LA Clippers plus 12, under 219. Houston Rockets plus 7, over 224.5. And with my next and final free pick for the video, I'm going to lean toward Utah minus 4.5 and the under 222. And with that, guys, we got to throw out a shout out. We haven't done that in a while, but I got to give a shout out to my man Rashawn Baskerville, who actually requested a shout out on my website. Right there on Patreon. He said, "Hey, next time you do a video, can you shout me out?" So of course, Rashawn, always good to have you on my website. It's good to have you on YouTube as well. And here is your shout out. Enjoy it. And Happy New Year to you, buddy. Enjoy the games today. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on brockpage.com. And the reason for that is this. It is a max value Saturday. And what I mean by that is it's the first of the month. brockpage.com. Utilize the Patreon platform. Patreon is a crowdfunding platform. So the way that they go about things is they will bill customers the day they sign up for a membership and then the first of every month following that. So if you end up getting a membership here today on my website, you're going to get billed today, and then you're not going to get billed again until February 1st. You're going to get access to whatever package you end up buying all the way through the end of January. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. And there's no earlier than the first of the month. This is a max value Saturday. It's the absolute best day of the month for you to sign up for a package. That's right, it's January 1st. And I'll tell you this much, guys. If you want your absolute max value, best value, you may want to think about signing up for my board member package, where board members get access to every single pick that I give out on that website all the way through the end of January. So anyway, guys, regardless of whether you want to buy a package from me or not, I think it's very important that you at least consider to do that. But even if you don't, really what's most important is that you join me right here on YouTube. So I got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube here today. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy New Year's to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at brockpage.com.